Welcome back to the Think Conversations. Still with me is Dr. Theuns Eloff. Theuns, we know that in 1976 there was a decision by Prime Minister B.J. Foster and his cabinet to introduce Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. And in that vortex, there was also a very strong anti-apartheid sentiment in the country. And that introduction of Afrikaans as an official language became the igniting thing about all other issues that were in any case there. Has that made Afrikaans as a language suffer a big reputational damage? Actually, I want to make it that maybe that gave Afrikaans a serious reputational damage. What is your trust and the Afrikaner civil society movement doing to make sure that the language becomes independent from the politics of the language speakers? It's a very...
Yeah, look, let me say, looking back, that was a stupid and an unfair decision by the cabinet of the day. And I think they learned the lesson there. And yes, it did create some big reputational risk for Afrikaans and images. And I mean, you from that generation, you will know. I know you well. You've overcome that, but not many have. So what we are trying to do is through our work, talk more about mother tongue education than just Afrikaans mother tongue education. So we broaden it. That's the first one. We also we formed a website called Afrikaans.com, where we want to portray all the good stories about Afrikaans and what Afrikaans is doing across boundaries and across people, communities. And then thirdly, we often point out to the fact that you cannot blame a language for what the people who spoke the language did. And I often make the comparison, Lucky, the British Empire. If you look at them broadly from the 100 years that they were in power in the world, did many things to many people. In the East, the Irish, they did it in English. They did here colonialism in Africa in English. And yet we don't blame the language today for what the British did. And all I'm saying is that I think we should not blame the language for what the National Party apartheid government did in that time. Otherwise, we would be forever no one will be able to speak any language because they all have some baggage. So I think to finally answer your question, what we're trying to do is through our testimonies and through our work and the projects that we have, especially in mother tongue education, to show that we're one of the South African languages. We want to work with others. We want to work for the country's betterment. We're obviously proud that Afrikaans single medium schools perform much better than non-English speaking, but then non-mother tongue schools. And this is not because they've got bigger football fields or cricket pitches. It's because of the quality of the Afrikaans teachers. And often people think...
Is it the quality of the teachers or the advantage for the kids that they are doing? They are conceptualizing what they are learning.
Well, it's both.
In their mother tongue.
It's both. So mother tongue, I would imagine, is the foundation.
Yeah.
But then the quality becomes enhanced because no one, also not Afrikaans people, will just send their kid to an Afrikaans school, but if the school is bad, they won't go there.
Yeah.
So it goes together.
Yeah.
So it's the foundation is mother tongue conceptualizing, and the rest is the quality of the teachers. And let me also say, the Afrikaner and most of the Afrikaans people have what I would call a Calvinist work ethic. They work hard. They don't belong to unions.
But what about there is an issue of the resources. You know, I mean, we know that the 1948 to say about 1973, Ragstel and the Axie of the National Party created a very vibrant and strong Afrikaner middle class. And that Afrikaner middle class is resourced. They sit in boards of very serious companies. I mean, I live next to Waterkloof War School. As I pass there are very big buildings there that you can see that only the alumni of that schools from where they've studied, they might have made contributions to build those laboratories out of resources, tax management, income tax management, and all those things. So you go to Menlo Park High, I mean, they've got one of the best hockey pitches in the country. And when you check, it was contributed by big law firms and whatever. Now, how has that movement of, I mean, we've got lawyers that with due respect, they park 4 G wagons, 3 Bentleys in their personal garages. We've got professors like me and all those things that do that. And yet the school that you were does not have a laboratory. How did you get your society to get to a point of understanding that plowback? Because I think it's a human thing.
Let me just say that obviously what you're talking about, alumni and so on, is true for Afrikaans schools, but it's as true for English independent schools.
Okay.
So it's not only an Afrikaans thing. Okay. It's a thing of parents.
Just the focus of the conversation.
It's a parents thing for the children. By the way, Afrikaans people have not gotten used to the idea that perhaps in future we'll have to rely more on private schools, independent schools, and not on public schools, because they may be. I don't know whether you know, there hasn't been a school built for Afrikaans kids since in the last 40 years. The English-speaking community and the affluent black community, African community, have grasped the importance of private education. And that's why you have your private schools. But now you ask me, how did we do it? I would say it's a community, a sense of community, coming from 1875. Education is the foundation, and mother tongue education is a specific foundation. Sometimes people think that, Afrikaans people are all rich, but they're not all rich, but there are a number of rich people, but they often only do it for their school because their kids are there. But the moment the kids are out of school, they don't care that much anymore. A few schools have these alumni, but I can count them on my 2 hands out of the around 900 Afrikaans schools that are left. But I would say a sense of community, and a sense that education, and specifically mother tongue education, is the foundation for my kids' success in future. The flip side of this, I must also say, Lucky, that I know of at least 5 schools here around Gauteng where the government has built a new school, a modern school, with sports fields, and they stand derelict. They're empty.
Okay.
They've not been managed by the Department of Education. I don't know what happened. How can a school just become derelict? And black kids don't want to go there anymore. So no management, no maintenance, no governance. So that's the other thing. And then lastly, I would say that the idea of a school governing body and the importance of school governing bodies that was introduced in 1994 by the Afrikaans part of the National Party as part of schools, because you remember in apartheid there were state schools.
We've got about 3 minutes.
Okay.
And I need to ask you, there's one last question I want to ask you, so if you could...
I'll be quick. There were state schools. Then 1994 it became public schools. There's a difference between state and public. Bella has now made it state schools again. Point is that Afrikaners are on governing bodies and they're making a difference. I don't think, it's not all everywhere, but I don't think that the African community has grasped that important concept of a school governing body, because that's where you can change a school and keep it right.
Okay, maybe that we will have a different conversation about that. I wouldn't want to follow up on it, but it's a comment that we have made. I might know the difference between an Afrikaner and a Boer. I might know it. I've written an article about the Boer. Actually, it distinguishes 3 Boers and whatever. But I want you to take this moment and explain to the viewers of the same conversation, what's the difference between a Boer and an Afrikaner?
Okay.
If there is. If there is.
Let me say there are different views on this. You have Afrikaans-speaking South Africans. They don't want to call them Afrikaners because of history. They're just Afrikaans-speaking. Then you've got Afrikaners, and then you've got people who say, I'm a Boer. Now, a Boer is mostly used derogatory in the songs of Julius Malema and so on. Some people say, well, look, I'm a Boer.
But generally not Julius. I also sang them. It was a struggle, puicho, as President Becky says. But we...
Tongue-in-cheek, I'm most Afrikaners in a conversation like this would say, well, I'm not a Boer. If they want to call me a Boer, they can call me a Boer, but I'm an Afrikaner. The people in Solidarity would not call themselves Boer. So it's a fringe term.
Okay.
Sometimes derogatory. Sometimes I would say, if you want to insult me and you think you can call me a Boer, I don't think it's an insult. But I wouldn't call myself a Boer. It has a radical element to it.
Okay.
Just as it has a derogatory element.
Okay.
And in the Afrikaans speaking world, you obviously have then 3. You have those who say, I'm an Afrikaner firstly and a South African secondly. Or, as I would say, it's concentric circles. You know, the wider one is I'm a human, then I'm a Christian, then I'm an African, then I'm a South African, and then I'm an Afrikaner, and then I'm a Dopper. And others would say, I'm not an Afrikaner, I'm an Afrikaans-speaking South African. And then our brown and colored brothers would say, I'm just a South African of San or Khoi descent.
Okay. So, thank you for clearing this thing of Afrikaners and Boers, although we could have done more on it. I wish I asked it earlier. But this brings us to the end of this second episode of the Think Conversation. My sincere thanks again to my guest, Dr. Theuns Eloff, for sharing his insights and contributing to what we hope will be a much and broader ongoing national dialogue issue. It would be ideal to hear other perspectives on this issue. And Theuns, let me say that our Constitution speaks about that everybody in South Africa is expected to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the Bill of Rights. And Section 29 is in the Bill of Rights. With that, I'm Lucky Mathebula from the Think Foundation.